Today, we're going deep into the annals of scientific history as we unravel the intriguing tale behind one of the most audacious hoaxes ever perpetrated in the world of anthropology. Oh, yay. Today, we delve deep into the origins of the Apeman Hoax, a cunning deception that shook the foundations of human evolution research. Discover the web of mystery and ambition that led to the creation of a really fraudulent discovery, challenging our understanding of the past and casting a spotlight on the delicate balance between truth and deception. Welcome to Capers and Cocktails, a true crime podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously and gives you something to enjoy while you listen. The following content may be disturbing to some. Discretion is advised. If you're enjoying one of our themed cocktails, ensure you're of legal drinking age and have fun, but drink responsibly. The Sazerac is a classic cocktail with a rich history that dates back to the 19th century. Its origins are traced to New Orleans, Louisiana, where it is often considered the city's official cocktail. The Sazerac's evolution began with a French brandy called Sazerac de Forge et Fil, imported by Antoine-Amédée Péchaud, a pharmacist who also dabbled in mixology. Around the 1830s, Antoine began serving this brandy mixed with his proprietary bitters and a touch of sugar, creating what is recognized as the earliest form of the Sazerac. As Absinthe gained popularity, it replaced the brandy. The drink gained prominence in the mid-1800s when bars and saloons across New Orleans embraced it. The Sazerac House, a museum and interactive experience dedicated to the cocktail, opened in New Orleans in recent years, highlighting the drink's historical significance and its enduring status as a symbol of the city's cocktail culture. To make this old drink in honor of an old skeleton, we will rinse a chilled glass with absinthe. Just swirl her around and then dump out the extra. Set that aside for a moment. To a shaker, add 1 sugar cube, a 1/4 part of cold water, and 4 dashes of bitters, and muddle in the bottom. Add 2 parts whiskey to the shaker with ice and stir until chilled. Strain into a chilled glass. Take a lemon peel and twist it over the surface of the drink, adding some of the oils from the peel, and then garnish with that beautiful lemon peel. For the mocktail, rinse the glass with anise extract, which you can get at most grocery stores. Muddle the sugar cube, a 1/4 part cold water, and those bitters in the bottom of the shaker. Remember, omit the bitters if that matters to you. Then, add 2 parts non-alcoholic whiskey and ice to the shaker. Stir until well combined and then strain into the chilled, licorice-flavored glass. Twist the lemon peel and garnish. If you're scared of the licorice, me too. But it's worth trying, especially because you're not doing too much licorice, you're just rinsing the glass. Bottoms up! The foundational book that established Charles Darwin as a pioneer in the field of evolutionary biology was On the Origin of Species, which he published in 1859. This fundamental work presented the idea of natural selection, which offered a groundbreaking explanation for the variety of life seen on Earth. Charlie I postulated that species change over time as a result of a natural process called natural selection, in which individuals that possess favorable qualities have a greater chance of surviving and reproducing, and then passing these traits on to their children. This idea overturned long-held beliefs about creationism and launched a scientific revolution, which resulted in a significant shift in our comprehension of biology and the interconnection of all species that are still alive today. Charlie I's work created the framework for modern evolutionary biology and continues to be a cornerstone of scientific inquiry and comprehending the diversity of life on our planet. He is credited with being the first person to propose the idea of natural selection. But today's episode is not actually about Charlie I. It's about another Charles, who is also British and also dabbled in anthropology, but who was born 55 years after Charlie I. Let's call him Charlie II. I'm so clever, I know, thank you. Charles Dawson was born July 11th, 1864 in Preston, Lancashire. When Charlie II was very little, he relocated to Hastings in the county of Sussex with his parents and 2 younger brothers. Following in his father's footsteps, Charlie I originally sought a career as a lawyer and then turned his attention to his passion of collecting and analyzing fossils. At the time, anthropologists were chewing on two main questions related to evolution, and specifically human evolution. 1, when and where did humans first emerge on planet Earth? And 2, which emerged earlier in humans? The ability to walk upright on 2 feet or their big old brains? And because Europeans were, Europeans, and full of themselves and something else, most European anthropologists presumed that because they had deemed themselves the most advanced civilization, humanity must have evolved first in Europe. I'm totally shocked that they thought that. Can you hear that? That's my shocked voice. These European anthropologists also believed that our big brains and flat facial features came about before we were able to walk standing up, since they considered that intellect must have been the ultimate catalyst of humans' uniqueness. Java man, also known as Pithecanthropus erectus, is the name given to an important fossil find that was made in Indonesia. On the island of Java, the remains were discovered for the first time in 1891, and they were a member of a species of hominins that has since become extinct. These fossils are regarded as some of the oldest hominin specimens that have ever been discovered, and they offer important insights into the development of humans. Oh, and if you didn't know, because I didn't, a group of species that includes contemporary humans, Homo sapiens, and our closest extinct relatives, as well as all of the forebears that we share with them, is referred to as a hominin. Hominins are distinguished from other primates by their bipedal or two-legged mode of walking. That's one of their distinguishing characteristics that sets them apart from other primates. At the time, Java man was thought to be around 500,000 years old. Java man brought some problems to these European anthropologists' theories. First, like other hominins, Java man walked on 2 legs, but he had a small brain. And secondly, the discovery of Java man provided evidence in support of the hypothesis that hominins began somewhere that wasn't Europe, and then spread to other regions of the world. Then enters Charlie too, the lawyer and wannabe paleontologist that really liked collecting fossils. And he had a knack for finding unbelievable specimens. And I actually mean unbelievable. But it kind of seems like these other white dudes didn't really care that he discovered things like a mummified frog inside a geode, like in a rock. Anyway, but due to the numerous fossils and antiquities that he discovered throughout the 1890s at a variety of locations in Sussex, Charlie too was able to get elected to both the Geological Society of London and the Society of Antiquaries. Remember, this is despite the fact that he did not have any type of formal education in the scientific field. He was a hobbyist at best, but a clever one it seems. I mean, he was a lawyer, I guess. His celebrity moment wouldn't come until 1912, when he sent a letter to Dr. Arthur Smith Woodward. You see, during the latter half of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century, Arthur was a well-known paleontologist in the United Kingdom who made a substantial contribution to the subject of paleontology. He is well known for his work on a variety of fossil finds, notably those relating to early vertebrates and the study of ancient reptiles. His findings helped him establish his well-regarded reputation as an expert. And Charlie, too, well, he needed an expert. Charlie, too, summoned Arthur to a gravel pit in Piltdown, Sussex, England. When Arthur arrived at Piltdown, Charlie, too, produced a pickaxe and dug a prehistoric human jawbone right out of the gravel in front of his witness. The next year, Arthur fitted the jaw and other found fragments together to make a head, and he claimed that Piltdown man was an ancestor human species, which he dubbed Anthropus dawsoni, which translates to Dawson's dawn human. As fast as you can say I'm a prince from Africa and want to give you $1 million, the Piltdown man shot straight up into a key place in the human family tree. The Piltdown pieces were shown embossed in gold and placed directly on the cover of Arthur Keith's The Antiquity of Man when it was first published in 1915. When Aimé Routot and Louis Mascret worked together in 1914 to sculpt 10 human forebears in bronze and place them on exhibit, Dawson's Dawn human was among the other human ancestors. We're talking like Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal and Piltdown Man. John Cook painted a now famous painting showing the examination of Piltdown Man in 1915. Charlie, too, is prominently featured in the group portrait of the British anthropological establishment enjoying the Piltdown specimen. He is positioned in the back row, second from the right, partially obstructing a portrait of Charles Darwin. Man, these Europeans really needed paleontological proof that they were superior, eh? And European anthropologists, and let's be honest, the aristocracy of England itself, I'm sure, basked in the knowledge that they were paleontologically relevant for the next 4 decades. There were some folks who questioned the legitimacy of the skeleton, saying it didn't look like it even came from the same specimen, but mostly Piltdown Man was accepted as fact. Charlie, too, kept making miraculous discoveries of bones, including some he claimed were of the same species as the Dawn human, until he died suddenly on August 10, 1916. He passed away from septicemia, a severe and, well, in his case, life-threatening infection caused by bacteria entering the bloodstream. After he died, no one ever found another fossil at Piltdown. The fossilized skull of an early hominid was discovered at the Tong limestone quarry in South Africa in 1924. This fossilized skull is commonly referred to as the Tong child. It was a young individual around 3 years old when they died, and this individual supplied essential information for the study of human evolution. The discovery of the Tong child helped support the theory that early human ancestors walked upright or bipedally, and the skull had both human-like and ape-like traits. But pretty much all of the European anthropologists ignored this discovery because they had their Piltdown Man. Sir Arthur Keith unveiled a plaque on July 23, 1938 at Barkham Manor in Piltdown to honor the location where Piltdown Man was found by Charlie II. At the end of his remarks, Sir Arthur stated, quote, "So long as man is interested in his long past history, in the vicissitudes which our early forerunners passed through, and the varying fare which overtook them, the name of Charles Dawson is certain of remembrance. We do well to link his name to this picturesque corner of Sussex, the scene of his discovery. I have now the honor of unveiling this monolith dedicated to his memory." End quote. The inscription on the memorial stone itself reads, quote, "Here in the old river gravel, Mr. Charles Dawson, FSA, found the fossil skull of Piltdown Man, 1912 to 1913. The discovery was described by Mr. Charles Dawson and Sir Arthur Smith Woodward, Quarterly Journal of the Geological Society, 1913 to 15. End quote. Isn't that nice? Well, was it? It wasn't until 1953 that some people decided to take a little bit of a closer look at Dawson's Dawn human. As more and more human fossils became unearthed around the planet, it became apparent that most of them had very few characteristics with the Piltdown Man. The Piltdown Man was then re-examined using advanced cutting-edge, for the 1950s, technical techniques, which finally led to the debunking of the skull. The remains found at Piltdown were dated using fluoride-based assays, which are chemical tests that determine the age of fossils based on the quantity of fluoride that buried bones collect from the surrounding soil. I'm sorry, I know it's boring. Anyway, this test, which was corroborated by a test based on nitrogen, dated the skull to a modern human. The test dated the jawbone only decades old. It turns out that the jawbone was that of a modern orangutan that had been intentionally discolored to make it appear ancient. Additionally, its teeth had been deliberately filed down to resemble human teeth. Because of this, it was determined that the Piltdown Man could not have been an ancestor of contemporary humans. In addition, chemical analysis revealed that the fossils had been intentionally tarnished with chromium and iron to make them look like they were old. Furthermore, the use of CT scans to investigate the interior of the bones revealed that many of them had gravel packed inside of them before being covered with putty and sealed. Charlie, too, was the first suspect of the hoax because he had discovered the majority of the bones. However, he was actually pretty quickly ruled out as the perpetrator because everyone assumed that, as an amateur, he would not have had the skills and expertise to fabricate the specimen. Instead, a number of other people, including Arthur Conan Doyle, the Sherlock Holmes author, were the primary subjects of suspicion. One interesting suspect was Horace de Vere Cole. Horace was a British prankster and eccentric known for his elaborate hoaxes and practical jokes. One of his most famous stunts was the 1910 Dreadnought hoax, where he and a group of friends disguised themselves as Abyssinian royals and successfully gained access to the British Royal Navy's flagship, HMS Dreadnought. Horace's mischievous exploits often involved impersonation and clever deception, making him a colorful figure in British humor and pranks during the early 20th century. A logical suspect, maybe, and a possible future capers and cocktails. Recent investigations, on the other hand, brought Charlie II back into the spotlight. For instance, it has recently come to light that the vast majority of the archaeological discoveries that Charlie II made in the 1890s and the 1900s were also fake. It is fairly likely that Charlie II was the one who committed the Piltdown hoax, and it turns out that he had a great deal more talent than initially assumed, despite the fact that he used his power for evil instead of good. Charlie II's goal appears to have been to become a Fellow of the Royal Society of London, an organization that had previously turned down his membership applications on many occasions. It's believed that the scientists that bought into this hoax, including Dr. Arthur Smith Woodward, weren't involved in this scheme. They just wanted England to be superior, down to the very evolution of man. The assumption that humans and other primates descended from a common ancestor and that our species, Homo sapiens, most likely originated in Africa, has received substantial support from later scientific study. This concept is also known as the common ancestor hypothesis. It wasn't until the latter half of the 20th century that the hypothesis of human evolution from African origins gained widespread acceptance. This was largely due to the accumulation of fossil and genetic data. This idea, which proposes that anatomically modern humans began in Africa and later expanded to other regions of the world, is now referred to as the out of Africa theory. And Java Man, he actually turned out to be more like 1.4 million years old. Piltdown became a synonym for phony. And sorry, Europe, you're not the cradle of anything but rampant and unnecessary colonialism, as it turns out. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really liked this episode. I'm a history nerd at heart, and I love historical frauds and scams. Let me know if you liked this type of episode by commenting on YouTube or anywhere that I have a social media account, which is like almost all of them. I'll add more like it next season if you liked it. We're rapidly planning for next season, and thank you all thus far for great suggestions for episodes. I have a running list that I add to all the time when I hear about things or you all make suggestions. If you're not following me on socials or aren't subscribed to me on YouTube, would you do that for me? An early Christmas gift, maybe? It helps more people listen and watch. Next week is a skipped upload, and I hope that you are able to get some rest during the holiday if that's possible for you. I do love Thanksgiving for the modern message it sends, and also am sobered by its dark history. So do what you can to honor that too, if you are able. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And remember, there are always alternatives to creating a hoax that alters the course of anthropological history.